and welcome to my second ever video on the channel. This is going to be a super quick and easy tutorial to show you how I paint this gorgeous 90s style red. All you'll need to follow along is a decent paintbrush, the paints, and any model you want to turn into an absolute god of the 90s. I honestly love these old missile launchers, and they just happen to love being painted red. I've prepped and undercoated the model, ready for our base colour, the great and powerful Evil Sunz red. I'm mixing the paint well with roughly 2 parts water to 1 part paint. The goal is to have an almost ink-like consistency. This will flow on the model really well and give you a really nice, smooth, even base coat. I'm using a size 2 Winsor & Newton brush, but you can use any similar size brush. Once you've covered the model, make sure to let it dry fully, then you can start a second layer of your base coat mix. Now just repeat this process until you've got a silky smooth and even finish. My model took 5 coats, but if yours takes more, don't worry about it at all. What's important is just getting that really nice solid base coat. The next stage is our first shade layer using Citadel Contrast Blood Angels Red. You could just as easily use a thinned down Mephiston red. This first shade layer is going to be quite subtle, but still needs to be applied very precisely. We have a great looking base coat, so we want to keep it clean and smooth by keeping the shade layers only where they need to be. Apply this layer nice and evenly on all the creases of the model. For the rest of the paint job, I'll be using a Winsor & Newton size 1 brush, although any similar size brush with a fine tip will work just as well. Our second shade is a watered down mix of 1 part Khorne red, 1 part Incubi darkness. I thin this down to a similar consistency as the first layer. This mix of Khorne red and Incubi darkness is actually a tip from the man himself, Darren Latham. This is a really nice way to shade red without making it too dark, and I think it works really well. When applying this coat, we keep things as neat and tidy as possible, protecting that perfect base coat to make sure our final model has a really smooth and crisp finish. Again, you're going to add this layer into all the creases that you added the first shade into. If you do make any mistakes, don't worry at all. You can fix these mistakes very quickly by simply applying a bit of the original Evil Sunz red over the top. Now on to the fun stuff, the highlight stages. Each stage will take us one step closer to that 90s glory. The first highlight layer is Citadel Wild Rider Red. It's a decent paint and should go on well. Water it down and give your brush a little twist on the way out of the paint to help keep the bristles nice and sharp. We need to put a thin highlight layer on each of the edges of the model. One tip I could share to try and keep your highlights as straight and even as possible is to try and copy this motion. It's basically the same motion your fingers will make when you write the letter L. Once you have this movement, make sure you're moving the model around so that the model lines up with your brush. It's a lot easier to do a straight line from top to bottom than it is from left to right. Slowly work your way around the model, and remember any mistakes can be easily fixed with some of the base coat. The next highlight stage is Citadel Fire Dragon Orange. It's a brilliant highlight colour for Evil Sunz. You don't have to thin this too much, but you do have to take your time now more than ever. This is the make or break layer on the model. This highlight goes on all your upwards and sideways facing edges and needs to be as thin as you can manage. Really take your time, don't be afraid to cut back into the highlight with some of the Evil Sunz to neaten it up or to make the edge a bit thinner. Just take each edge at a time, do your best, and you'll end up with a great looking model. We're nearly finished now, just 2 more stages, and these are the ones that are really going to make this model pop. So these last 2 highlights are going to be Citadel's Luganeth Orange and Vallejo Ice Yellow. Don't worry if you don't have these paints, you could easily recreate them by adding white to orange or white to yellow. First we're going to give all the corners and top facing curves a dot highlight of Luganeth Orange. Keep these as small and precise as you can manage. Too big and you'll lose the sense of scale. Once you've added all of these, go back with Ice Yellow and add a dot to anything facing upwards. This last highlight is what really makes the whole red pop. One of the big advantages of this style of painting is that it's so easy to fix mistakes. Simply paint over your mistake with the base coat and work your way back up with the highlight layers. Once you've neatened up your model, that's it, it's all done. And here's the final model. I hope you'll agree it's really brought this little lump of metal to life. If you've enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more, please do press subscribe. If you've got any feedback, make sure to leave that in the comments section. And if you're feeling really generous, you could click the thumbs up as well. Anyway, I genuinely do hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next one.